Hello students, welcome to Saras's classes. In this video, I will be solving the following question from ISS 2017 paper 4. Now here we have to discuss about internal migration, rural urban migration and international migration. Now first of all, let us discuss about what do we mean by migrations. Now migration is a relatively permanent movement of individuals or a group over varying distance. So it is the relatively permanent movement of individuals or groups over varying distance to change the place of residence to change the place of residence. So it is a relatively permanent movement of individuals or group over varying distance to change the place of residence. Here the permanence and distance, these two are the major defining dimension of this migration. That is, permanence and distance are its major defining dimension. So, what is migration? Migration is relatively permanent movement of individual or groups over varying distance to change the place of residence. And permanent and distance, they are its major defining dimension. Now, the first one is internal migration. Internal migration. Now, internal migration occurs, that is, it is a migration that occurs within the boundaries of a given country. So, it occurs within the boundaries of a given country. So if this migration it occurs within the boundaries of a given country, it is called internal migration. Now this internal migration, there are many reasons for this. These reasons can be economic, then social, then political, environmental, and so on. That is, they are the reasons for which internal migration takes place. For example, if there is some natural disaster such as flooding in one area, then the people living in that area, they can internally migrate to some other areas and settle down there. So, internal migration occurs within the boundaries of a given country, and the reasons for these migration can be economic, social, political, environmental, etc. Next is rural urban migration or urbanization. This is a type of internal migration. So, this rural urban migration, it is a type of internal migration. So this rural urban migration, it is the migration or movement of people from rural to urban areas. So, rural-urban migration, it is a type of internal migration which means movement of people from rural to urban areas, where urban areas, they are the areas with high population density, they are the areas of human settlement with high population density, better infrastructure and better opportunities and social structure. So urban areas have high population density, high population density, population density. So the urban areas are the human settlement with high population density, better infrastructure, and better opportunities or more opportunities. And similarly, the rural areas are the human settlements. Usually, rural areas comprises of villages, and urban areas they comprises of cities and towns. So rural areas are the human settlement which have comparatively low population density, comparatively lesser infrastructure and lesser opportunity. So comparatively lesser infrastructural benefits, infrastructure and lesser opportunities. So this rural urban migration, it has been one of the classic pattern that occurs in human migration. That is, the people they move from rural areas to urban areas, and because of this movement two things happens. Number one is that urban growth happens. Urban growth, that is, the towns and cities they expand, covering the greater area. So the towns and cities they expand, and that is, they cover greater area of land. And next is urbanization, that is, increase in the proportion of people living in towns and cities. So it is increase in proportion of people living in towns or cities, towns and cities. Now, the reason this rural urban migration happens, it can be economic, that is because of higher income, better employment, better facilities. So it can be economic, it can be social, that is better healthcare and education, then better urban facilities and so on. It can be political, and it can be environmental, like agricultural change or say famine, drought or some other natural disaster. It may also result in this migration. Now another reason of migration is marriage, that is, the females they move from one part to another after marriage. So marriage is also one of the reason for migration. Next is international migration. It is a global phenomenon. It is a global phenomenon which that is, it is a global phenomenon of movement of people across the boundaries of countries. It is a global phenomenon of movement of people across the boundaries of country. So it is a movement of people across the boundaries of countries, that is, the movement of people from one country to another country. Now, because of this international migration, that is, the movement of people from one country to another country, it is resulting in the growing complexity, and it is having a impact on country. So it is having an impact on countries. That is, this international migration, it is having an effect on both the country that person is leaving and the country the person is being migrated to. So this international migration, it is causing an impact on both the countries it is migrating from and it is migrating to, because obviously when the person is migrating, what is happening is that its initial country, that is the country from which it is migrating, it is losing a resource, whereas the country in which the migrant is migrating to, even though it is achieving some additional resource, there is a problem, like the population is being increased in that country. So it is causing an effect, or it is causing an impact on both the country it is leaving and the country it is migrating to. Now, there are several reasons why this migration happens. One of them is better economic opportunities, opportunity. Next is political reasons, That is, sometimes the political condition of a country within a country forces its inhabitants to migrate to another country. So first is economic opportunity, that is, if that person is not getting proper economic opportunity in its own country, then he may migrate to another country. Next is political reasons. Next is education. It is one of the main reasons why students they migrate from one country to another, that is, they go for studying abroad. So economic opportunities, political reasons, educations, they are some of the reasons why these people they move from one country to another. That is, these are some of the reasons for international migration. So to answer this question, you should write first the definition, that is, what is the meaning of these types of migration. Next is the reason of migration, that what are the factors that affect or that causes these types of migration. And next is the effect or aftermath of migration, and what are the conditions that are resulted due to these migrations, that is, what are the situations that arise due to migration. So these are the things you must write about these migrations while answering this question. So, internal migration, it is a migration within the boundaries of a country. Rural urban migration, it is a type of internal migration that occurs from, that is the movement from rural areas to urban areas. And international boundary, it is an international phenomenon, that is it occurs across the boundary of countries.